In a quiet suburb of the city, where the light of street lamps created invisible walls of coziness, lived an ordinary man named Jason. His days passed peacefully and unnoticed. Early mornings began with the smell of freshly brewed coffee, and the sound of the alarm clock reminded him of the upcoming workday. Jason was absorbed in the ordinariness of his life, unaware that something dark and mysterious lurked in his ordinary mirror. The evening flew by unseen, as it always did, until Jason found himself in front of the bathroom mirror. His reflection seemed as normal as ever, but something caught his eye. There was a strange, flickering shape in the shadows of his appearance, as if something unusual lurked in the darkness behind him. At first, Jason had written it off as fatigue or a play of light. But every time he turned to look at his reflection, the shadow turned too, following him. Involuntarily raising his hand, he saw the shadow obey his movements as if it had a will of its own. Soon Jason's curiosity turned to concern. He spent his nights in the mirror, watching the shadow reflect not only his movements, but his emotions as well. Fear, surprise, joy all seemed to be reflected in the vague outlines of the dark figure. One evening, when Jason was feeling deeply anxious, the shadow began to laugh, bending in strange contortions, as if it wanted to emphasize his powerlessness in the face of this mysterious phenomenon. He decides to avoid mirrors, but the shadow begins to appear in the reflections of other surfaces. The mirrored panels of cabinets, the shiny surfaces of tables, the shadow lurks in every reflection, as if unwilling to leave its victim. Fear leads Jason to decide to seek help from paranormal experts. The experts warn him of possible dangers and offer him a series of rituals to get rid of the shadow. Instead of appeasement, the shadow becomes even more aggressive. Objects in Jason's room begin to move on their own, as if the shadow is trying to influence the world around it. Jason sinks into the depths of fear. Every moment of his life becomes a weave of shadows, and he feels unable to resist what is overtaking him from the dark mirror. Desperate, he follows the advice of experts and begins to perform rituals, hoping to banish the shadow. But on the contrary, the shadow becomes even more persistent, as if ignoring its essence makes it furious. The shadow chooses its moment and begins to manifest in the real world. Objects begin to crack and distort in its presence, as if it longs to be free of its mirror captivity. Jason's friends and family grow distant, unable to understand his hard-to-transcend horror. The shadow is no longer confined to the walls of his home, it follows him outside his comfort, becoming his constant companion in the darkness.